Make sure I look cute. Okay, you can start. Hey, I'm Christy. My friends online know me as XTY, and let's talk about the making of Executioner. I'm going to talk about how I wrote the song, how I made the song, and how I made the video. Executioner is the first song I've ever produced from start to finish. I did all the mixing and mastering myself, and it was a massive learning curve. Maybe this will help someone along their way.
I'm just thinking of ideas.
Oh. Let's talk about writing the song. Songwriting is so personal to every artist. I love to pull from media. And I really enjoy telling a story. You know, a lot of the songs that I do write, you know, stuff that hasn't touched anyone's ears yet, just random stories. A lot of times they're personal to me, or I tie them into my own emotions and my own feelings. Executioner started off as a kind of a joke. One of my friends told me to write a song about someone who's an executioner and how they pass judgment on the people they kill. But by the end, they look inward and realize that, you know, they've been a killer all along. As I was writing the song, it kind of grew this deeper meaning about how we as humans can often be so quick to judge other people. And oftentimes the traits that we judge other people for are traits that we have ourselves and really just don't like about ourselves. So it took me like a day or two to write this song, and I wrote it at my very nice old upright piano that my wonderful husband's family gave to me. That's how it was born, and I have these audio clips that I'll include here from like, 2 years ago now when I wrote the song.
Do you see the ones who love you, or the ones who love to hate you? Baby, can you blame them? Oh, it's such a shame, a monster in disguise.
That's perfect. Let's talk about how I made the song, how I produced it. I'm sure it's not going to be perfect, but I don't have a label, I don't have any money. It's all a learning experience, so I'm glad I did it. It was so much fun, and I ended up being really happy with the outcome, so I'll talk a little bit about how I did it. Okay, this is like the biggest file I've ever made, and it's not that big. The only layering I really did was some of this Foley, and I'll show you some of the sounds that I used, some of the mistakes I made. And there's a lot of information out there for beginners, and then there's a lot of information that dives really deep into each element of production and mixing and mastering. A lot of these terms are completely new to me, and I had to like Google what everything meant. Since I wrote this on piano, I started this off by recording the piano, and I use that keyboard, and it does Bluetooth MIDI right to Logic Pro. Whew. It saves me so much time, honestly, because it sets the velocity based on the weighted notes and everything and makes my life so much easier. So this is what that sounds like. Okay, and one of the biggest mistakes I made is that I doubled the piano and I panned them hard left and hard right, and it sounded so weird through an iPhone afterward. It sounded really good through the headphones, but on like a car or like a iPhone stereo, it didn't sound good at all. I was heavily inspired by Game of Thrones for this song. The first other instrument I picked was this Game of Thrones sounding cello. And I also recorded that with that keyboard through MIDI Bluetooth, and I just tried to make it sound as gritty and nasty as possible, just like Game of Thrones. The other thing that was really important to me was the spooky, breathy air noises. So like these are all the ambient sounds I made, and I watched some like Nordic songs on YouTube and copied it kind of with my vocals. I really like the texture that it added to the song. Here's what that all sounds like without my vocals. I really wanted the sound to be amazing without my vocals in it, and I wanted it to feel kind of like a soundtrack. Hans Zimmer time, Game of Thrones, Twilight soundtrack. The The vocals are the easy part for me. I recorded with this microphone made by Blue. It's called like the Spark or something like that. It's probably not technically as good as my M Audio Technica one, but I really like the way it picks up the lower register of my voice, and I thought it'd be better for this song. It only took me like a day to do it. The only extra thing I did is that I panned the verses like slightly left and slightly right, so it would feel more like someone was whispering in your ear. The feeling of the song is that this person's being influenced by their own thoughts. I do use a pop filter. I did this with a blanket hung up at my door, and I stood like a meter away from the blanket. I don't know, I find that cuts out kind of some of the like my voice bouncing off the walls or something like that. I don't know how that stuff works, but that's just how I do it. If you want me to talk more in detail about like the production and my recording my own vocals and stuff, I'm not a professional, but I'd be happy to do that if people like this video, so let me know. I don't really use auto-tune or anything like that, and I just followed a bunch of YouTube tutorials. I used Billie Eilish's vocal chain for the verses, and then I kind of modified it for the choruses because I use more of a belt. And the way I produce is usually just finding like chains that I like online and literally copying them, and then I'll like max out some things or zero them out and see what the difference is, because my ears aren't very trained. I followed 2 YouTube tutorials on how to mix and master at the end, and I just literally copied and pasted them. I hated one of them at the end, but I like turned off any of the things I didn't like, and then I just exported like that. So I ended up with a sound that I'm very happy with, but I'm sure I could learn a lot more. If you're a semi-beginner like me, Google your favorite artists, Google people who have voices like you, and try to find their vocal chains. Try to find like a song that's like yours and just copy the crap out of whatever they used for mixing and mastering. That's my recommendation. Third, how I made the video. Before I even started recording, I storyboarded a ton of scenes that I really wanted to capture, and I kind of wish I did more of this, because at the end I kind of had a bit of space that I didn't expect, I guess. So I recommend doing way more than you think you need to. If you have way extra footage, it matters less than if you have too little. I used stills from Twilight, I used stills from movies that I thought were cool. I looked stuff up on Pinterest and just like copied and pasted it into my iPad and tried to copy that as high as you can get it without your feet being in it. As long as it's parallel to the ground, like the phone is like flat like this, that's good.
Okay.
I'm just gonna float for like a few seconds and then open my eyes and sing a line or whatever. This is so hard to do. Okay. I live really close to Golden Ear Provincial Park and knew that I was just going to be using that for my setting because it was very eerie. When you're in there, you just feel the spirit of the forest. And someone said Spirited Away on my Instagram post about inspirations, and yes, that Spirited Away is the whole setting of this I guess music video. So we went to Golden Ear and we just tried to make everything look as warm lit but also spooky as possible. Filming was so fun. I had everything pretty organized, and it only took me like 2 or 3 hours to get all the shots. We were so lucky that it was like warm and sunny, but the water was so cold. Chris did all the filming for me, pretty much. We did also a lot of tripod work, and a tripod only goes so high, so I had to like stick it on a bunch of things. The setting, I feel like, made our lives so much easier. Being in a forest, love it, easy. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. I hope it maybe helped you or maybe entertained you a little bit. I'm sorry if it didn't, that's your fault. Okay, bye. Also, all my links are down below.
Do I look scary?